Please be seated. Of course, there has been no election of a foreperson. So this note that the court received is not dated. It is not signed. It was handed to the court by the marshal moments ago. It reads, one of the jurors discussed something about the case, and it was all over social media. Said it was like Gone Girl. A brief mention. Several other jurors said, don't discuss this. You can have this marked as a court exhibit. Now, the court did not read the name of the juror, which is on that note. What the court is going to have to do first is find out who wrote the note.
Your Honor, I apologize. Should Ms. Maydell be excused for this?
Yes. The court will then question the author of the note. And also inquire as to other matters concerning the note. The note does not indicate when these matters were discussed. That is, on what day they were discussed, and when other jurors responded. So the court is just going to have a brief conversation with the marshal to find out who handed the marshal the note.
Judge, may we just have a brief sidebar?
In a moment.
Yes, Judge.
The court simply asked the marshal to give me the name of the individual who gave her the note. Thank you. Do you wish to approach?
Yes, Judge.
this morning, and then determine how this matter will be addressed. So we are going to stand in a recess.
All rise. This Honorable Superior Court now stands in recess. Please exit the courtroom.
To discuss with counsel the process by which we will proceed in determining whether one or more jurors needed to be excused. The court thereafter closed the courtroom. However, there is a transcript generated of the proceeding that was conducted during the closed courtroom. That transcript with the names of the jurors redacted should be available because the court is ordering that transcript to be expedited, hopefully by Monday morning, again with the jurors' names redacted. The court questioned the juror who authored the note, and that juror verified the information in the note. The court then questioned the juror who was identified as the juror who made the comments. That juror indicated that the comments were made. The court indicated to that juror, juror number 186, that the reference made to Gone Girl and the fact that the case has received extensive social media attention may have influenced other jurors to possibly not afford the state or the defense, one or the other, a fair trial, an impartial trial. The court also indicated to that juror that the reference to Gone Girl, if any other juror was familiar with the film, may have influenced that juror to start to hear the evidence in terms of their familiarity with the film. The court then dismissed juror number 186 and thereafter proceeded to question each juror individually, specifically whether each one of those jurors had heard the comments. Some did, some did not. Whether, if they had heard the comments, they were able.
Thank you. Sir, I'm going to ask you to draw your attention to the screen behind you. May I just inquire of the court and the parties if all their TVs are on? Is it? In States 31, File 1, if I can, sir, I'm just going to ask you some questions if you can. Picture 1. When you said A, B, in areas A and B, is an area A depicted in that photograph?
Yes.
Is that the area that you're talking about?
Area A, yes.
Thank you. And photograph 2, did you find any altered stains in this area or depicted in that photograph?
There were altered stains or swipes located in the left portion of area A as we're looking at this picture, left central for the record.
Okay. I'm going to show you picture 3. Can you describe what's on picture 3, please?
So in picture 3, relative to the central part of the picture, the red portion of the stain that is on the surface, this blood-like stain, is characteristic of a swipe mark, which the characteristics there are relevant to movement between the blood source and the surface, striations within the stain, sometimes diminished volume, and sometimes an edge, a trailing or leading edge that is feathered in some way.
And picture 4, sir, you mentioned area B as well. Is that contained in picture 4?
Yes.
Thank you. And picture 5, what is that a picture of, sir?
This is this closer up picture of the central, say central southern portion of area B. Within this portion is a blood-like stain that has swipe characteristics again, lighter in color, striations located throughout the stain, and some other movement relative to the floor of the garage in the center right-hand portion of the picture.
Would you mind, sir, Your Honor, may I ask him to go up to the screen, please, and point out to what he's talking about? And I'm going to scroll into this as I can. Can you just explain and perhaps point out on the photograph what you're talking about when you say...
You can go to the screen, thanks.
So I'm referencing this area here in terms of discoloration with indications of movement going from top right to bottom left of the screen. Direction is not implied. There are striations located within this stain, meaning lines or essentially parallel lines, which is another indication of movement.
Thank you, sir. And just briefly, going back to the picture 4, where was that contained in this photograph, or that position?
That is near this L bracket right here.
Which would be the upper right corner of the photograph?
So
About
central, slightly to the right.
central to the right. Thank you, sir. Okay. Now, with respect to picture 6, is that a similar picture to what we just went through?
This is the same area, different orientation of the picture.
Okay. And area C, sir, did you find any altered stains?
Which would indicate the trailing edge of the stain, leading edge being up here. So this characteristic tells us that in this photograph, this stain was traveling in a direction from the upper portion of the photograph down towards the lower right portion of the photograph.
Sir, I'm going to actually reference that and go back to States 5. When you say that the stain was coming from a direction, is that direction, or could you point out that direction on picture 5?
So in this picture, from the previous two, we looked at the white rectangles are aligned with the long axis of the stain. So in this photograph, these white rectangles are aligned with the long axis of the stain. In the GW that we just looked at, that stain was traveling, the directionality indicated was traveling from the top left of the picture towards the bottom right. So from left to right and towards us relative to this picture in the garage.
And with respect to the GE picture that we went through?
So again, similarly, GE is located in this photograph towards the upper central. The white rectangle scales were placed approximately along the long axis of those stains. And the characteristics of this stain indicate it was coming from the left portion of the picture towards the right portion of the picture.
Thank you, sir. Now, you can have a seat. Okay, thank you. With respect to, is there a certain methodology that you use in your BPA or blood stain pattern analysis to determine something called an area of convergence?
Yes, there is a methodology relative to a reconstruction of certain types of patterns, specifically an impact pattern, which includes a reconstruction of an area of convergence.
What is an area of convergence?
So simply put, an area of convergence, we just saw blood stains that impacted a surface. We saw blood stains that had directionality coming from one portion of the scene to the other. An area of convergence is lines, or essentially the two-dimensional flight paths of those drops that are essentially drawn back and they intersect in an area of space, which would indicate in the plane that the blood stains exist where the blood source was located. So the convergence is the space that contains the intersection of the directionalities of those blood stains.
And when you're talking about the plane or the two-dimensional plane here, what area are you talking about in this case?
The floor of the garage.
Okay. Now, with respect to determining that area of convergence, were there specific stains that you used throughout the garage?
Specifically at the left side of the garage were the stains that were utilized.
How many, would they be called spatter stains? Is that the appropriate terminology?
Spatter, yes.
How many spatter stains were found in the left side of the garage in total?
A minimum of 26 stains were located on the left side of the garage.
And how many did you utilize in the course of your reconstruction?
There were 7 stains that were selected and utilized for that portion of the reconstruction.
Why 7?
The part of the methodology relative to a reconstruction regarding an impact pattern or area of origin relates to certain circumstances
To testify about what he saw in the video, it would seem to be, it has more of the tent and tenor of hearsay for that testimony to come through this witness.
Understood, Your Honor. I can definitely have that witness testify to what they saw in the video and what they conveyed to Sergeant Francesca.
Well, we'll have to take that up on Monday
Thank you.
because it is now 4:46 and we are going to adjourn for the day. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attention. We ask that you have a good evening and please try to avoid any media coverage about the case, and please avoid talking to anyone about the case or anyone talking to you about the case. Thank you. And Sergeant, you may step down.
All right. This honorable Superior Court now adjourned until Monday at 10 p.m.
10 a.m.
10 a.m.